Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. Today we're going to be going over a new species of Dicynodont that has been discovered from the Triassic, as well as what's going on with a small species of cat over in Chile. So we're streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. So let's dive back into the Mesozoic era or the beginning of the time of the dinosaurs. And hello, I identify as a carnivore. Yes. So from News, new Triassic Dicynodont species discovered in Poland. Well, this is really good to hear considering we have found certain other species of Dicynodonts from Poland. In fact, certain large species weighing well over a ton, so pushing somewhere around 2,000 to 2,400 pounds or over 1,100 kilograms. Maybe it's another large species. So, paleontologists have identified a new genus and species of Cannemyriform dicynodont from the Triassic period fossilized remains found in Poland. So, the Cannemyriform dicynodonts are just a single group of dicynodonts existed back in the Triassic period. This group of proto-mammals, being the dicynodonts, what? Oh, first evolved
Identified as carnivore, said cat.
cats. What cat?
I guess thought it was a cat.
No, this is an old uncle to the cats, as well as the dogs. So pretty much all of the different species of Dicynodonts, whether you're talking about the Stachycanerids as well as the Chineromorphomes, were herbivores. So all of these were feeding on different species of fern and shrubs during the Triassic period. Some of them also evolved before the first dinosaurs would appear on Earth as well. You had it where these different groups evolved somewhere around 251 million years ago. Actually, that's not entirely true. You could say in some cases this lineage evolved earlier into the Triassic period if you're talking about some of their earliest ancestors. So pushing somewhere around 253 to 254 million years ago, especially the early relatives of the Lystrosaurs, which would cling on and survive the mass extinction of the Permian period about 252 million years ago and make it until the very end of the Triassic. So for proto mammals, they did quite well. Was Nicella triardiata lived in what is now Poland and Germany during the late Triassic period around 230 million years ago. The new species was a type of Dicynodont, a group of primarily herbivorous vertebrates that were common during the Permian Triassic periods.
Uh, Identified as carnivore said so humans evolved from these things.
No, 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 no. That's well, I guess I should have included maybe primates too. But all mammals today are nephews to this group of proto mammals. But even then, that might be a bit challenging to, I guess, state in that way, considering like the mysterious lineage of proto mammals that would lead on to true mammals during the Triassic period, then eventually to the different species of mammal today. They still wouldn't evolve until somewhere around 230 to 240 million years ago. It's still a big mystery as to when the first mammals truly evolved during the Triassic period. But these proto mammals took a different step in evolution, or at least I called them proto mammals. Also, back in the late Permian period, I think you could say in evolutionary terms, Dimetrodon, which lived much earlier, the large sail-backed proto mammal from the early Permian period, about 275 million years ago in the United States, is probably more closely related to the lineage of mammals that would cling on to the current Cenozoic era of today. So, I don't know exactly what the Dicynodonts truly evolved from, however, and I wonder if that's still up for debate as well. They just happen to randomly occur during the last few million years of the Permian period. They are technically close cousins to the mammals, but they're their own type of proto mammal. So it is very likely that these different types of herbivores did contain fur, very much like mammals in general. And we're also probably quite intelligent, but dicynodonts in general don't seem to be very much capable of running. Maybe certain smaller species, the larger ones might have had just a quick gait or a quick sort of a walk. So the ancient creature was closely related to, oh, Stella Wait a second. Oh, I forget that. It's Stalacarid dicynodonts are a part of the Chinemeriform clade. Okay, my mistake. A family of late Triassic dinosaurs within the clade of Chinemeriforms. Dicynodonts were an important clade of herbivorous therapsids, which originated in the Permian and vanished in the latest Triassic, said Polish Academy of Sciences Institute of Paleobiology researchers Tomasz Sajgalewski and Tomasz Zule. So, let's see. Let's go back in time. Possibly did it even tell us how old this was? Okay, let's bring up another species. Sinomackerey. Should be another dicynodont. Nothing occurred.
It's just saying, did you mean stuff that has nothing to do with what you put up?
Okay.
Unless I misspelled
Oh,
it.
I added an extra N. Okay. Okay, let's just retype the
Okay,
genus name. Sinomkannem.
got it.
I guess also when it comes to the like more renowned species of Dicynodonts, especially Placerius from Arizona and possibly Texas and New Mexico, that species of Dicynodont wouldn't evolve until possibly 5 to 10 million years time, and it was also a member of Stachyridae. And so was this, species of Dicynodont, I believe, unless it's just, specified as a member of the Chinemeriforms. It could be a bit of a mystery, but
Carnotaurus
it's
said, yeah, are mammals in the Mesozoic like were like mice?
to an extent, maybe as you head into the Cretaceous period, definitely not the Triassic period as well as the early Jurassic, especially since at that point, mammals, for the most part, were just laying eggs. It doesn't seem to be until really later into possibly the mid and late Jurassic do we start seeing evidence of um, live birth occurring in different species of mammals.
Thinking it
Then,
was referencing the size, but I'm just guessing.
well, okay, well, when it comes to, yeah, I guess if you're talking about specifically size of many species of mammals during the Mesozoic, even to the Cretaceous, yes, they were in many cases about the size of different species of mouse. Um, The largest was probably somewhere around 30 to 40 pounds or pushing between 12 to 17 kilograms. So probably around the size of like a coyote at most, but more of like having the shape of a raccoon or a large possum, considering there are many types of marsupial like mammals during the Mesozoic. And certain lineages that would also lead on to placentals as well. In fact, you possibly already had small placentals already occurring during the Mesozoic, as well as the monotremes. They have been around for a very long time. So basically, the same lineage of mammals that the echidnas over in Papua New Guinea and Australia, as well as the platypus, belong to. So yes, this is Cynoconemaria. So this animal, I believe, is from Brazil about 249 million years ago. So this is a species of Dicynodont that lived probably about 15 to or maybe 12 to 15 million years before the first dinosaurs would evolve. So likely coexisting with the earlier Archosaur ancestors of the dinosaurs. It wasn't a very large species of Dicynodont. You might place it in like the medium-sized category, considering we had Dicynodonts that were barely 10 to 20 pounds, or pushing somewhere between maybe 4 to 9 kilograms. This animal was maybe pushing somewhere around 220 to 260 pounds, or somewhere around 100 to 120 kilograms. And also likely feeding on different species of ferns. These animals, also, when it came to the Dicynodonts in general, did not score teeth. They were specifically just ripping off chunks of ferns with their beaks and swallowing them whole. They possibly did go to different creek or riverbeds to swallow small stones to help grind the food in their stomach. We possibly do have evidence for this occurring in Dicynodonts. Also, many of them are characterized by giant tusks uh, towards the sides of their face. Certain species have it where it's really pointed directly towards the ground, and there might be certain other species that are a bit pointed towards the sides of the animal,
Yeah, this doesn't say who it is.
which is almost like early ceratopsian traits, but even the later ceratopsians have that too. But most Dicynodonts, the tusks are pointing straight towards ground. They're virtually elongated teeth like today's elephants, the mammoths, the mastodons. What about this?
Doesn't say who it is.
It's possibly him. It's just a bit of a taller stature. It is interesting. I mean, when you look at certain species of Dicynodonts, seems that some had it where they had longer hind limbs compared to their forelimbs, and other species, especially like the Placerius, have somewhat even sort of leg structures, but I could be confusing it with just the overall upper part of the body and its height, not necessarily including the leg structure itself. So it probably was with Placerius where the hind limbs were still longer, but definitely a very different head structure when looking at different species of Dicynodonts. Some have much longer or taller um, back parts of the skull compared to others, especially with what we see on this specific species. Yeah, also what's nice is that in this picture, it's not making out like all of Pangea over in the early Triassic at this point was just this massive desert. There were massive deserts that occurred, but there also needed to be quite a range of um different large species of vegetation where these animals could have enough to eat, considering you have species that are going to need to consume somewhere around like 130 pounds of ferns a day, or pushing over 60 kilograms. So virtually kind of basing it off of certain species of herbivores that exist today, especially since you have certain species like the South African or Polish species of Dicynodonts that could weigh somewhere between 3 to 4 tons. So during their roughly 60 million years of existence, they were an unquestionable evolutionary success, as expressed by their global geographical range, generic and specific diversity, and exceptionally high relative abundance, not once but twice, first in the Permian, and then after a major faunistic turnover in the Triassic. Well, it is interesting when it's mentioning that there was a faunistic turnover. What that means by faunistic is that it's referring to the different types of animals, and that there was a massive wave of new species that occurred. But it really, you wouldn't start seeing this, especially on land, until pushing around 235 to 240 million years ago. And then a major explosion, probably somewhere around 230 million years ago, really talking about the dinosaurs and the different species of pseudosuchians that would appear. You could include the smaller variety of pterosaurs. In the water or over in the ocean, you had it where there were different species of Sauropodian marine reptiles that were first evolving. They would appear actually a bit earlier into the Triassic, pushing it around the time that these different species of Dicynodonts would have evolved. Well, the larger species into the early Triassic.
Carnotaurus just asked, is Draco Rex valid?
It seems to be that it really is a growth stage for Pachycephalosaurus, and the same thing for Stygimoloch. I'm going to have to do a bit more and thorough investigation as to why this is. Now, there's the other thing with the Torosaurus being a different growth stage of Triceratops. That is very much disputed. So it does seem to be that Torosaurus is its own distinct genus and species. There's just simply too much morphological differentiation between Torosaurus and Triceratops horridus, as well as Triceratops prorsus. So at least that's the good news for the ceratopsians. So, yeah, we did lose 2 species of Pachycephalosaur in that instance, but it just shows how much, of, like, different types of growth changes Pachycephalosaurus went through, on the bright side. So, in the Triassic, this clade ranged from minuscule animals, referring to the Dicynodonts, less than half a meter long or pushing around, 1.6 feet, to massive species comparable in size to the largest living terrestrial mammals. This is probably referring to gosh, who is that specific species? It comes from the late Permian. It was existing right before the Triassic period, but the genus is not hitting me.
I can't tell if Carnotaurus is asking if you believe the asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs or if he's just referencing the asteroid wiping out the dinosaurs.
It's very likely. I mean, considering the overall size of the asteroid and the impact that it had, specifically also where it hit, and it also, if you had it where it's that massive cloud of dust that covered the earth for even a short period of time, it wouldn't take very long to wipe out all the dinosaurs, even the smaller species. You also could have had it where they might have all of a sudden become less immune to different diseases. They're also having less access to sun. Um, what's other things? If since you have it where there's a major ecological collapse, they're probably not getting as many.
Would it destroyed their water?
Well, that too. Now you do have it where different species of smaller mammals, smaller avian dinosaurs, the birds that were able to cling on. Um, but when it came to especially the non-avian dinosaurs, I just really don't think it would have taken very long with what the asteroid caused, especially also worldwide wildfires. Possibly in some cases, you could have had it where there were certain droughts in different
So
areas.
you do believe it was possible that's what took them out.
Yes. The Permian mass extinction, I will say, is a bit of a mystery as to how these or that specific mass extinction occurred, because you also have it where a wide range of different proto mammals, different species of reptiles were able to cling on quite well into the Triassic period or the Mesozoic era entirely, because they just transitioned from the Proterozoic era to the Mesozoic.
The what era?
The Proterozoic
Oh,
is the lineage or is the era that links from about 530 million years ago, about or at the beginning of the Cambrian period, to about 252 million years ago at the end of the Permian. The Mesozoic is from around 252 million years ago to 66, yeah, 66 million years ago. And then the Cenozoic era is from 66 million years ago to the present or the current day. Some I think there are certain instances where certain people will try to put like the past 11 to 12,000 years or the Holocene epoch as not part of the Cenozoic, and it is. We're not in some new era. It's just a recent epoch, but it's been around for some time. So okay, let's bring up a species of dinosaur, the Staurikosaurus. So Staurikos. Oh, there we go.
oh, I like this little guy. Well, he's on a tree, so he's probably not that small.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is an older representation of the Staurikosaurus. So this is a species of Herrerasaur from Brazil, somewhere around 233 million years ago. So this is around the time that the first theropods would have evolved. I think I might have said a little way back that pterosaurs weren't necessarily true theropods. They were members of Theropoda. They just weren't members of Neotheropoda. So Theropoda first evolved somewhere around 231 to 233 million years ago, whereas Neotheropoda doesn't seem to appear until somewhere around 230 million years ago. So you had it where animals like Herrerasaurus, Styracosaurus, which are both Herrerasaurs. There's another species, Eoraptor, another type of carnivore. So they were all members of just Theropoda, not Neotheropoda. Neotheropoda really won't explode until somewhere around 228 to 225 million years ago. And that's where you also have different species of carnivores like Coelophysis, Leliansternus, and then after that, like the Avatheropods of the Jurassic, and you could say Neotheropods too. Basically, the megalosaurs, the allosaurs, the tyrannosaurs, dromaeosaurs all explode in variety afterwards. But this is back in the mid Triassic of Brazil, about 233 million years ago. And Styracosaurus is just 7 to 8 feet long, or pushing somewhere around 2.4 meters. Probably doesn't weigh much more than maybe 40 to 80 pounds, or pushing somewhere between 18 to 35 kilograms. So it's likely feeding on some of these smaller species of amphibian and reptile at the time, but it's quite robust for or, definitely just, um it has just enough of a robust build to probably take on certain larger types of game, considering these smaller dinosaurs within the region, maybe going after smaller crocodilomorphs, possibly even like some of the earliest other members of the Saurischian lineage of dinosaurs that would lead on to the prosauropods or the sauropodomorphs. It has quite long arms compared to its body size when comparing it to a wider range of different species of carnivorous theropod dinosaurs. Really, I mean, annexing like the later ornithomimids, though you could technically call them omnivorous because we have evidence at least of Dinohyrus feeding on different species of fish. Um, but that animal won't evolve until like the last 5 to 6 million years of the dinosaurs' reign, so towards the end of the Mesozoic. But here in or mid Triassic Brazil, I mean, this animal was also very capable of jumping. Was likely able to run somewhere between 20 to 25 miles per hour, or pushing somewhere around 38 kilometers per hour. So, quite nimble. It probably did have to avoid different larger species of crocodilomorph during this time. And it also lived in the shadow of different species of Dicynodont that existed back in mid Triassic Brazil. So it might have gone after the smaller, like babies of the Dicynodonts. Oh, or depending on how small the species was when it came to Dicynodonts, it might have hunted them as well.
Yeah, he didn't know I was gonna put that up.
Yeah, I forgot to like. I keep thinking of just the immense species of the Dicynodonts, even the Stacharids, and you would have had species that were just small enough for Styracosaurus to take down. Um, yeah, this isn't necessarily too inaccurate. I think the Styracosaurus, like the head in this instance, is too. Um, it almost resembles certain species of smaller theropods from the Jurassic, even certain proto-saurischians. Um, I guess you could say dinosaurs that came before like the first I wouldn't even call them necessarily true dinosaurs, possibly just proto dinosaurs in general, but it's definitely does not have a Styracosaurus overall morphology. Just Herrerasaurs in general had much longer skulls. This
Carnotaur
one's
said you
short.
should do a reaction channel to animal videos.
Um, yeah, we're definitely probably going to bring up like some other footage has occurred more well just recently, like especially like what we were showing at one point with like the Voyager's ecosystem.
Well, but we got whacked with copyright claims on you.
Oh,
So it's like
yeah,
we
that's true.
have to figure out how to do that without getting whacked for it.
Yeah, it's It's literally about, I just think it's nuts. Anyway, when it comes to yeah, this slicer sword, the problem is, especially with the horn coming out towards the side and a species that small, I'm not too familiar with any having that distinctive horn structure. It's almost like it confused it with a species of smaller ceratopsian. That was very common for, I'd say, most ceratopsians to have side horns. Maybe not so much earlier in their evolution back in the late Jurassic, but definitely by the early Cretaceous, 140 million years ago was quite common. Um, I mean, besides that, I
Anime
mean,
Blake said hi.
welcome, fellow sauropod. So, when it comes to Styracosaurus here, let's go back to one of the others. Yeah, I think this is it's a decent reconstruction if you're just if you're just trying to depict a Styracosaurus, feeding or guarding its Dicynodont carcass. I do think that the skull might be a bit too broad, but we also don't know specifically how old this picture is.
Is this one trying to eat the little guy?
Besides that, the overall body structure is okay. Oh, this is definitely one of the older ones. This is from the 1970s or 1980s. Um, yeah, I mean, I do recognize this sort of a Styracosaurus look. What were you saying?
Is it trying to eat the little guy?
Oh, I didn't even see the lizard. Probably. Styracosaurus definitely had a very large menu for a theropod his size and during the mid Triassic, but it was also at a time when there were a wide range of different species, especially pushing around, 100 to 200 pounds or about 45 to 95 kilograms that this animal could easily hunt. It was quite capable of taking on certain larger species compared to its body size, at least if you're looking at the overall weaponry of this animal and different types of species that it preyed upon during this part of the Triassic weren't necessarily armored. So, if they really couldn't outrun this species of carnivore, it could take them out. Now, in this case, it just seems to be hunting some of the earliest species of mammals as well as like early species of lizard. Lizards especially have been around since the Carboniferous period, so pushing somewhere between 310 and 320 million years ago. So the dinosaurs are not necessarily their first predators. You had it where different species of earlier proto mammals, larger reptiles also, as well as larger amphibians like the temnospondyls, which are also existing during the Triassic. Styracosaurus, depending on the temnospondyls that might have been the region, would probably have to be careful with them as well because you had certain temnospondyls weighing well over 1,000 pounds or pushing 450 kilograms.
So Carnotaurus said, I was digging in my backyard and found a tooth looks like a mosasaur tooth.
I
Where
mean,
do you live?
I guess if you're over in like Kansas, Nebraska, that's certainly possible. Maybe certain parts of Oklahoma, South Dakota, I think it is possible, or maybe even certain parts of eastern Colorado. So I guess you could say it's not too surprising.
Limestone bed in Kansas.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely not surprising. I mean, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's really exciting, but yeah, I was just thinking of, somewhere in like the eastern United States. I'm like, you're probably not going to find any mosasaur teeth over there. Um, unless someone like dropped one that was actually harvested in Morocco or Algeria from a gift shop. Which we do obtain quite a few mosasaur teeth from that region. But yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Um, yeah, it's probably one from somewhere between 70 to 90 million years ago. Or you could say 66 to 90 million years ago.
Did you get it verified?
Yeah, depending on like the certain sediments, they can be I wouldn't say well, some instances quite common, in other instances they can be somewhat sporadic. But that's because I'm thinking of different species of plesiosaurs that they can be conjoined with, at least the teeth, or different species of
I would think if you found one in the area, there'd have to be more.
probably ichthyosaurs. It's a bit unlikely to come upon them with mosasaurs. They did coexist with some of the earliest mosasaurs, but it was also back when the species were much smaller, referring to the mosasaurs. I do think this is a good reconstruction of the Styracosaurus. So I guess let's head back. Okay, so the fossilized skeleton of Wasnikila or Tyradieta was found at a locality near the town of Wazniki in southern Poland. It seems that Dicynodonts comprise the main group of large herbivores in the late Triassic of Poland. I mean, that seems to be the case. Well, it's saying late Triassic. I guess you could say that is somewhat interesting, considering you also had different species of large prosauropod occurring at this point.
Carnotaurus said that ammonites were found around it.
That's also was another creature, for some reason I hadn't reached my mind, but yeah, I mean, that's also, pretty fascinating. I'm wondering if maybe there were certain ones in the region that have a bit of color added to their shells as well.
That's a nice backyard.
Yeah, I mean, considering, yeah, it's specifically on type of limestone. Um, Also, like, in a certain basin within the region, just the overall geological area. So, no unambiguous body fossils of sauropodomorph dinosaurs, yes, what I was wondering, have been found in any of the Polish Triassic localities, in stark contrast to Germany or Greenland, where sauropodomorphs are abundant and dicynodonts virtually absent. We do find dicynodonts over in, I believe, both of these regions, but they're not as obviously nowhere as common. But I am a bit shocked that it's mentioning that sauropodomorphs are basically absent from the Polish Triassic regions. I guess I'll have to review and see if there are any sauropodomorphs in the area. So, the ichnological record, however, does indicate that at least some sauropodomorphs were present in the late Triassic of Poland. Unlike in the Americas and Africa, no late Triassic tracks referable to Dicynodonts are known from Europe, with the exception of two specimens from Wozniki, two or three specimens from Zawirossai, Poland, and some putative therapsid tracks from France.
Uh, Carnotaurus said, I dug pretty deep. And the next comment was, we live at the bottom of a valley.
Now, I am kind of surprised that, you're mentioning that you actually had to do quite a bit of digging, considering in some instances mosasaur teeth are just kind of laying around. Unless it's a bit more common for North Africa than it is certain parts of Kansas, Nebraska. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's really good to hear, as well as with the ammonites, considering they come in a wide range of, different sizes and even colors in the region. And colors because of the different minerals that they happen to be conjoined with as they were fossilizing over millions of years. Okay, let's bring up another species of dinosaur too. TAWA. Um,
Oh, I thought that was it.
well, I mean, I believe I can double check to see if there's a specific. Oh, okay, right. The species. Hallei. HALLAE. So Tawa halei. This is still a species of dinosaur. It's just a bit similar to the Styracosaurus, but possibly a bit further into evolution.
Is this it?
Yeah, I think it is a species of early Neotheropoda. It's just not as highly evolved as certain later species like Coelophysis. Now, some might confuse this with a Coelophysis or a species of coelophysid that might have evolved slightly earlier, such as the Camposaurus. But Camposaurus is very similar to coelophysis when it comes to overall morphology. If you look at Tewa, Tewa has, and I believe this animal is also from Arizona, so it lived in the same region as both species. Table has quite a robust, especially upper jaw structure compared to what you see with Camposaurus and Coelophysis. Even the bottom jaw is also much shorter compared to those other two species. This animal evolved in Arizona about 215 million years ago. But for some reason, it seems to be a bit just less overall evolved compared to the other two genre. This actually happens with a wide variety of different species of animals, despite them belonging to the overall same, I guess you could say, clade or large, possibly even order of a specific lineage of animal.
Okay, how bad is that?
Yet certain subfamilies or genre are much less evolved. Um, the problem is the upper skull with this individual is too um it kind of resemble no, it doesn't even resemble the Styracosaurus. It sort of resembles a later Jurassic species. Now, um also, even when saying that, I'd say that Tawa, when it comes to the upper jaw, has an almost like Dilophosaurus sort of a curvature to the upper jaw, somewhat. If you see in the middle right there, this can also be found in different species of Spinosaurus too. And I think you could say like the Noasaurus, so a later group of Ceratosaurians from Madagascar. The Noasaurus, something like that, but Noasaurus is probably not the best to compare it with, but definitely Dilophosaurus, Cryolophosaurus, not really, and the Spinosaurus are really good to see. I mean, compare it with.
So Carnotaurus said, I went to the University of Kansas Paleontology Museum and there a Moses I think meant to say they had a mosasaur there.
Probably, yeah, I would assume so.
He said, "Do you think dinosaurs had abs?"
Um, I would assume so. I don't think it would be as definitive as what you see in like certain species of mammals. But pretty much all like different types of birds today, reptiles, amphibians have a certain amount of stomach muscles to help um, reinforce their just other internal organs because technically abs are a type of organ. But, I just think they wouldn't be as definitive as different types of mammals. But yeah, I think the mosasaurs had their own types of abs. I don't know. I do wonder how they it's probably just comes from the consistent, tendency to have to, I guess, be very tense in that specific region, especially when they're coming into conflict with other mosasaurs. They're having to stay alert, so their whole muscle, her whole anatomy just tenses up. So maybe that's how they're able to get really reinforced stomach muscles later on in life. But I have to do more thorough investigations into that part of their
But would
musculature.
sauropod muscles be kinda like elephant?
I have assumed that. I mean, that's very possible. Um, Yeah, I need to see if we have even done any somewhat research into like where the ab muscles would be, or how they would be reconstructed on like different species of sauropods, mosasaurs in this instance. I would think that there's been some type of fun research done on that specific part of the body on those animals. Also, when it comes to this early species of theropod, the Tawa neotheropod specifically, because it is technically more highly evolved compared to the earlier Herrerasaurs, which by this point have already gone extinct, as well as the Eoraptor. And there were certain other species too. But Tawa seems to have somewhat stopped when it comes to evolution in many cases, but there were certain later species of theropods, especially certain smaller species of Coelurosaurs later into the early Triassic, not Triassic, Cretaceous, that would have a similar morphology to this creature. Also, something that you can notice is that the upper teeth are very long compared to the bottom teeth. This is very strange for most species of theropod dinosaurs. This is not a very common trait. So you could say it has its own mysterious characteristics. Why would you evolve this type of an arrangement of teeth? And it's Not an insult at the animal or insulting questions, just um, what's really the benefit? Yeah, I guess you could say he somewhat has them. I mean, he seems to be kind of leaving his tail out of the question, but I wonder how you would get some gains on the tail. Okay, here he seems to be pushing everything from his stomach. He's doing like he's definitely going for like the Icelandic build. Um, like just totally leaving out the stomach and paying not too much attention to the chest. Okay, at least not all, Icelandic powerlifters do this, but it's a bit of a stereotype. Okay. Um, oh my gosh.
Carnotaurus asked for me to insert these.
Huh?
Carnotaurus asked for me to insert them.
Oh, yeah, I think yeah, this is very odd. I would say these are some creepy mutts. I'm not sure what to call them. Um,
Hold on, I don't know if I can use it. I can't use this one. It's licensed.
I think what is interesting is that if depending on how much that's supposed to be, I mean, obviously we don't have a number on these plates, but T Rex, it looks like with each arm, could probably lift somewhere around 400 pounds. So, if anything, that's a weak T Rex. And he has arms that are I'd say very long compared to his body size, even for a person. Um, I don't know who this is supposed to be, but this is T Rex. This is sad. I have no idea like what cartoon this could be from or what sort of claymation. Yeah, T Rex would have very muscular arms. Like this could possibly like replicate. I'm trying to think of a species. This would make sense for something like a mononychid, which had like one finger, but I'm pretty sure this animal has two. They still had somewhat, robust little arms, but they were probably not really used for picking up anything, but to possibly excavate termite mounds to some extent, ant mounds, since we had different species of termites and ants, at least inhabiting different parts of the Cretaceous period.
I don't think this thing's excavating a termite mound with those arms.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he would be doing. Fish would probably be a challenge for him to carry, like minnows. Yeah, those were definitely better. Unfortunately, T Rex could not lift in that specific way. It was quite limited, but also towards like a bit of a diagonal sort of an angle. So back to the Dicynodont. In addition to the description of Wasnikella triadiata, the researchers analyzed the biogeography of the Permian and Triassic Dicynodonts. According to their results, the region of southeastern Africa, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Tanzania, and Zambia, um, throughout the Permian and Triassic served as a hotspot of dicynodont diversity and origin point for lineages migrating north and west. I think Kenya is like, am I a joke to you? And the answer is yes, because you don't really have dicynodonts. Okay, so let's see. I think there are certain dinosaurs that might occur at this point over that have been discovered in Kenya. I wouldn't say, in certain regions of the Mesozoic, it's not necessarily too much of a hot spot for those animals.
Carnotaurus said Carno lifting a 0.5 pound weight would still be a struggle.
Oh, I forgot about those guys. Yeah, I know it's in your name, but it wasn't hitting me. Let's see. Um, that's a good question. I think I might do some research into, or I will, how much possibly certain belly sores could lift. So, the question is, though, like, did they even have the ability to lift anything with their arms? I would assume so. Let's see. Oh, okay. So let's bring up another dinosaur, Unanosaurus. Yunnanosaurus. I mean, definitely with the robust neck structures of the swords like Carnotaurus, Abelisaurus, are definitely capable of lifting, I would well over, 350 pounds in some instances or pushing. Well, actually, that seems very weak. Maybe for some certain smaller species. I'll need to double check on that. But referring to the Triassic, so this is pushing somewhere around 210 to 220 million years ago, and possibly over in Europe or South America. Definitely just over on Pangea itself.
Well, what's with this then?
This is a bottom jaw, I believe, that we have found of Unanosaurus.
How did it end up
Oh, wait
there?
a second. Yeah, I don't think it wasn't Brazil or Europe. It was China that this species is from. So it's from northern China during the late Triassic period. It is one of the largest prosauropods to evolve in general, not just the Triassic period, but even later into the early Jurassic. It could reach probably somewhere between 30 to 35 feet in length, or if I'm not confusing it with a certain other species, because I believe the upper limit for this animal is at least around 30 feet or pushing 9 meters.
Carnotaurus said 1 million T Rexes versus the U.S. Army. I put U.S. Army.
Well, the problem is that that's kind of civil war, considering T-Rex is an American, and yeah, that's the US Army. So there's a bit of a problem with that. I mean, that's like, US Army versus bald eagles. You don't want that. Except there was something going on in the 17 1800s. It's like it's our national bird, but we're gonna take a bunch of them out. It's like what just happened? Anyway, I like golden eagles too.
So, what's your favorite animal ever?
Well, that is T-Rex. I do like polar bears as well. Also, when it comes to earlier in the Cenozoic era or the Pleistocene or the Ice Age, that's a bit of a challenge. Um, like considering with animals like the saber-toothed cats or Smilodon fatalis, Smilodon populator to an extent, but I think it's just that especially, you had it where Smilodon fatalis was coexisting with Columbian mammoths, American mastodons. And then you also have, just like the woolly mammoth itself, um, cave lions and American lions. It's just that when we figured out that it looks like these animals didn't consist of manes, like they couldn't grow a mane, it kind of like, I liked the idea of the animal being like this massive, like beige or white, um, fluffy creature roaming the plains or the mammoth steppe of Eurasia or North America.
Well,
There's
what
just
about the saber-tooth marsupial?
Oh, right, the Thylacolus or the also the other lineage of Machaerodontids. So these were placentals, the Nimropids like Barbophelus, which is what Diego is from Ice Age. Um,
Wait, Diego was a
No, he wasn't a marsupial, he was a
oh,
placental. The Thylacolus were their own lineage. I mean, they're okay, they're definitely up there, but if it's a bit of a challenge, but you could also say the polar bear is technically an Ice Age animal as well, but I was just putting it up there for the current modern day animals. Um, yeah, it's a challenge, but definitely, yeah, I'd put T-Rex as the top.
well, you
Um,
can't say dog versus baby Diplodocus because you
why
gotta pick what type of dog.
why are we even putting a dog up against a Diplodocus? He's supposed to protect the Diplodocus. But Um, yeah, I'm betting on the dog, like, especially one of those not mastiffs. I mean, him too, but, um, Kangol, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, they're they're gonna crush that baby and the Diplodocus, actually, it wouldn't take that large of a dog to take a little Diplodocus out. You could put something like a certain, like, smaller, beagle or a hound or
So it's 7-day old.
I mean, it wouldn't be too much larger. I mean, definitely would have put on some size, depending on the amount of nutrition that it's obtaining. Okay, you're saying Diplodocus itself, and assuming Diplodocus carnagi. Yeah, I'm still betting on the dog, and depending on how, much the like a even smaller dog is, I guess depending on how robust its jaw structure is. But also, I mean, doesn't even have to be a dog, but you're specifically asking like certain dog breeds. So think of like the doles of India also. There's the Papua New Guinea singing dog or the dingo. And then there's that other species over in South America. But it's not hitting me what it is. Um, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I really don't want a dog going after a Diplodocus. They're supposed to be, friends, not one or the other as food.
Supposed to be hurting them?
Hurting. Oh yeah, like sheep or cows.
Oh, too small. Okay, these guys look like they're having some kind of conversation.
Also, yeah, when it comes to prosauropods like Unanosaurus, this animal was possibly able to walk on all fours despite having much longer hind limbs, but they weren't necessarily, when it came to the forelimbs, as small compared to their body size as opposed to certain other species like Plateosaurus, for instance.
This one needs to stop eating.
Yeah. Um, is he like doing some sort of yoga too? I mean, yeah, he's very fat though. I think he has been munching on some like I don't know, silage, like supplemental silage. It's like used for cows like during the winter. And during the dry season, he's going over to um probably certain American prosauropods for supplemental food. 'Cause he's from China. Bad joke. Let's see. Yeah, this species was likely just feeding on different species of ferns, conifers, and Pangea, China at this time. And that's another thing. It has very robust forelimbs compared to many other species of prosauropods that evolved. You had a wide variety of different species of prosauropods that had quite thin and narrow sort of forearms.
I
This
can't
one,
even tell the
however,
face I'm looking at.
oh yeah, is strange. He's got issues.
Hold on, there's different versions of it.
But yeah, when it comes to that's a very okay, that's better.
Looks
Y-
very happy.
Yeah, but you know what it looks like? It looks like somebody or the artist took a like Galapagos iguana or yeah, and then mixed it in like with a prosauropod face and gave it like a just prosauropod Galapagos iguana sort of a skull morphology. Yeah, it looks very actually, you know what else it seems to be mixed with? The frilled dragon from Australia. And then they just added certain osteoderms around the top of the neck. Even the tongue and the inner just gum itself looks like certain lizards of today.
Uh, Carnotaur says, "How big is Megalena?"
Megalania. Oh, so that ice age lizard from Australia. Probably pushing around 20 to 25 feet in length. They're pushing 6 to almost 8 meters and probably weighed somewhere around 1.5 tons. So maybe pushing some around 2,000 to three. Well, I don't know. I said 1.5 pounds. No, that would be 3,000 pounds. Or 1.5 tons. So pushing somewhere around 900 to
Here's what was asked about.
1,400 kilograms. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what species. I don't think that that's the moa. It says Ganyornis, so maybe a relative of the elephant bird or the moa. There were certain other species that also existed on mainland Australia too.
Wait a minute, there were already people there?
I think people didn't arrive until after the much of the megafauna died out. Doesn't seem that the ancestors to like the Aborigines over in Australia really reached the mainland until somewhere between 40 to 50,000 years ago. Um, really, by 50,000 years ago, most of the megafauna, including Megalania, had gone extinct. So, yeah, this animal was very likely feeding on the different species of diprotodontids or the larger species of wombat, practically, that existed over in Ice Age Australia, as well as different species of larger kangaroos. Um, Certain other lineages of marsupials, like even the larger koalas at this point, which massively dwarf today's tree koalas. And there were also different species of tree kangaroo that existed at this point too. They were also a bit larger than like the different tree kangaroos of northeastern Australia or Papua New Guinea, like the Bennett's tree kangaroo or the Mashi's tree kangaroo. Who else? It doesn't seem to be there were really any placentals roaming. Okay. I guess there might have been certain species of rodent, considering there are native species or endemic species of rodent in Australia today. So it certainly is possible. But dingoes wouldn't arrive until somewhere around 3,500 years ago, when the last mammoths were existing in certain small islands off the coast of Russia and Alaska. Um, let's see who else, or even dwarf elephants like off of Cyprus, maybe like Sardinia, Italy. So, these guys, I mean, yeah, they do seem to be very similar in morphology to Komodo dragons, but I do need to do some further research into what specifically they were very unique in outside of size. I wonder what's behind him. Yeah, very large, elongated teeth, almost like that of the mosasaurs to an extent.
That's
It
not
does.
real, is it?
Um, I don't know, especially about the top skeleton. Possibly. The bottom one does seem to be possibly a model. But yeah, as you can see
You're
when it
saying
comes
it's a
to
cast, though, it's not the actual one.
yeah, but when it comes to certain lineages of mosasaur like prognathodon, that skull structure is very similar. It's a very broad squarish like skull. So meaning this animal had a very powerful bite force.
Was that an emu it was chasing after?
No, it's Genyornis. So a very, somewhat larger, but, well, I don't know, maybe it was similar in size, but, a bit taller than today's emus, slightly different in overall morphology. So back to the Triassic period. So, I need to double check. When was this again? Oh, 230 million years ago. So around the same time as different species of, the earliest members of Neotheropoda when it came to the dinosaurs.
For anybody wondering why he lost time because he's been on it for an hour.
Multiple species independently migrated to the Americas and Eurasia, indicating open passages between the regions of southern and northern hemisphere. And the northern hemisphere? Southern migrations from the northern hemisphere appear to be very rare, however. I mean, we do see that with actually a wide range of different types of animals. It seems to be, and not just like occurring during the Mesozoic or possibly even earlier, but even later with like different types of mammals as well. It seems to be that you have it where usually the animals from the northern hemisphere are migrating south in many instances. Almost like something about the climate of the southern hemisphere for quite some time has really prevented these animals and these specific regions from migrating north, which is quite interesting. Um, Almost like the animals in these more northern regions tend to have just a more sort of exploratory sort of a want. And we see this like different types of theropod dinosaurs, the sauropods. Now you could say maybe when looking at certain members of like different lineages of theropod dinosaurs, because these are really just referring to Dicynodonts, to the proto mammals, like certain earlier species over in Africa, especially like South Africa or maybe Tanzania, that theory could be a bit off, but that does seem to be the case with many different species. Especially also quite a few migrating from North America into Asia. But there are instances where they're also migrating from Asia to North America, but both are in the northern hemisphere. Um,
Facts about its factness.
Ziphactinus, I'm guessing. So, the giant fish. So, that specific species of fish, I believe, lived in the Western Interior Sea of North America and likely adjacent oceans to the Atlantic or the Pacific. Somewhere around 71 to 75 million years ago during the late Campanian, the early Maastrichtian of the Cretaceous. This animal, in some instances, could reach somewhere around 17 to 20 feet in length, or pushing 5 to 6 meters, and probably weighed somewhere around 1,000 to 1,800 pounds, or pushing 450 to 800 kilograms. We have found different specimens of this specific Lake Cretaceous fish that virtually choked to death on other fish. There might have been an instance where it choked to death maybe on a plesiosaur, and I might have to double check on that. Or possibly might have been a flying pterosaur as well, considering you had a wide range of different species of pteranodontids existing at this point during the late Cretaceous, but also pteranodontids, if you're talking about Pteranodontia in general, were already becoming quite common during the early Cretaceous over 130 million years ago. So, yeah, this animal was virtually a carnivore. Also had some of the longest teeth compared to its overall skull size, especially when looking at other fish. Okay, so thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Happy International Styracosaurus Day. And remember that nothing is better than all animals all the time. Or oh, right. Okay, and we will be back later this afternoon or this evening.